Vapor by C.A. Wynn. It's cold in here, a blue cold, like the inside of a wave the moment it closes over your head. I say this as though I know what in here means. Maybe I could have known once, a long time ago. Now it's lost to me. In here, colors and shapes and sounds and smells are everything and nothing at the same time. In here, reality folds, bends, and envelops you, transcending anything perception once meant. I know that's not helpful, but it's all I've got. Where I am, words are inadequate. Take cold, for example. It's a feeling, a sensation. Blue, on the other hand, implies a frequency of light. Neither word carries a sense of permanence, depth, or texture. They are also devoid of sense and sounds. In here, using these words means very little because cold cobalt shades form a sea of buzzing redolence, divorced from any word that tries to name them. Why blue? I didn't choose the color. Not that choice seems to have any meaning anymore. Choice is an echo of the past, a reminder that I wasn't always where I am. If I could tell you how long it's been, I might know where that past went. Time, along with my senses, has lost meaning. It's a feeling I find difficult to wrap my head around. Calling it a feeling might be misleading. Instead, it's more of an impression, an intangible, distant cousin of the concrete. Here, the impression is everything and nothing at once, a completeness and absence difficult to explain. If you're here, if anything can be, you're probably looking for answers. I don't know if I can give you any. I'm as certain of these things as I can be, and that's not at all. I can't even be certain you're here. For my own sanity, I'll try to remember where all of this started. It began with a planet. It was not my world, but a new, unexplored world, complete with the elements to sustain life. At that time, I was a xenobiologist. The word unleashes a torrent of sensation, like frostbite's favorite lipstick. When I was a xenobiologist, discovery meant something to me. I searched for life, studied it, marveled at it. I once enjoyed things like that. In those days, I'd been to dozens of planets, maybe hundreds. Now, quantities and qualities blend into the azure fragrance that permeates everything. Not many worlds have the elements to sustain life. This one was in what scientists call the Goldilocks zone. Earth scientists, of course. They come from the home of fairy tales. Goldilocks was looking for moderation, a meal, and a place to rest. She could have found those things here, minus the meal. There is nothing to eat in the electric cerulean stillness. I was once Goldilocks, though not because of my hair, which is more strawberry than gold. I wasn't a young girl anymore either. Not that such things matter in here. I could be 1,000 years old right now. There is really no way to tell. When I was Goldilocks, what was I looking for? Life, I guess, but not moderation. That's not something you find hopping from world to world. Goldilocks arrived at the second planet in the Thule system. It's where she found this sliver of awakening, of becoming. A xenobiologist is hardly significant on a large research ship like the North Star. Before Goldilocks was sent to the planet's surface, hundreds of drone sorties tasted the porridge, and hours of aerial reconnaissance tested the bed. When things were just right, the humans descended. It seemed to Goldilocks like a fairy tale world. The flora was different, magical. One of the crew called it otherworldly. Of course it was. What else would it be? There was animal life, too. Amphibians gathered around the water. On the plain, Goldilocks found rodents. None of what she saw was very large, so it wasn't much to write home about. Goldilocks, the xenobiologist, would write home about them anyway. The drones mostly covered ground near the equator. It's where the plant life was the richest. Thick groves of trees created robust canopies. Between the islands of trees lay vast swaths of underbrush and grasslands. That's where Goldilocks discovered something different, something unexpected. They were barely mobile, these creatures she called Thulians. Goldilocks and the Thulians. It still sounds like a fairy tale. She first thought they were plants because they moved so slowly. The ground these Thulians covered was meters per hour, maybe less. How did they move? She could only guess. They were blue, too, like broad, flowerless plants. Some of them were as tall as 3 meters. Others were more compact, more slight. A thick membrane of flesh covered them from top to bottom, like a squid, only with the blue-gray of spent welding sparks. They lacked a distinct head, but their bodies narrowed near the top. From there, the cloak of skin draped smooth and seamless, hiding everything beneath it. Goldilocks cataloged every detail of these shrouds concealing inscrutable beings. "I told you we'd find life," Captain Ismailov had said to her. His voice flits around in here, echoing with excitement, just as azure as everything else. "Where are their eyes?" she'd asked. These Thulians had nothing resembling sense organs. How they understood where they were, or where they were going, was a mystery. Goldilocks liked puzzles. This one was the slow-moving sort. "At least they're mobile," the captain had said. "Fish are mobile," Goldilocks said. Now fish ripple through the blue gelatin of my mind. "I'd be excited about fish, too," the captain said. His words hadn't convinced her then. How excited could the captain really be about fish? Maybe Goldilocks should have been, but she was looking for intelligence. She wanted to discover beings who understood how the universe operated. She wanted to find out what they knew. You can't learn much from fish, can you? Maybe she was just a poor excuse for a xenobiologist. Like her bears, Goldilocks found these Thulians in groups of 3. Later, there would be 5 or even 7. Always odd numbers. To her, this implied a modest level of intelligence, something else they had in common with fish. "Can they really count?" she asked. "What if we find groups of 4 or 6? Captain Ismailov shot her a glance. His face is here with me, eyes still piercing, breath still hot and acrid. The term gathered implied understanding, contemplation, and cooperation. Had the Thulians gathered? Goldilocks couldn't be sure. I would tell her if I could. The captain's patience impressed Goldilocks. He believed they were on the verge of first contact with an alien intelligence. Somehow, this didn't inspire haste. He followed all the proper steps, taking pride in never having lost any crew due to negligence. Does life eternal in the blue count as a loss? "What about tools?" Goldilocks asked. The captain's argument hadn't convinced her of Thulian sentience. If only she knew how little that mattered. "We have no idea what intelligence might look like," the captain had snapped. Those words form large, roiling clouds like the hue of old television static in my current reality. Then Captain Ismailov sent Goldilocks to meet the Thulians. She went with 2 others. I can still remember their names, but only just. The baby bear was named Warren. "Is this your first time?" he asked Goldilocks on the shuttle ride down. The anxiety on his face paints bursts of periwinkle. "You'll be an expert before long," Goldilocks told him. He held his kit close to his chest. Filled with vials and blades, his kit contained the tools of botany. I wonder where he is now. He's not in here with me, or is he? Hisa sat across from them. She made ripples in the fairy tale. A gruff mama bear, Hisa insisted on being called Dr. Kawakami. Warren obliged. Goldilocks did not. Maybe that's why Hisa always gave the xenobiologist a hard look. Be sure to keep him with you, Hisa spat, her words now indigo. I don't know why the linguist felt she could pawn the botanist off on Goldilocks. Does it matter to her anymore? They arrived at a group of 5 Thulians. The air was warm, with a faint smell of sweetness. There were no sounds except the rustle of grass in the light breeze. Purple and orange flowers emerged from knee-high shrubs across the landscape. The planet's surface rolled gently beneath a sky of green and gray. The nearby star shone down on them. Much like the blue, I don't remember light so intense. Goldilocks had to shield her eyes. The research squad members picked their way through the underbrush toward the gathering. Vapor rose from each of the Thulians the way steam surrounds the head of an athlete in cold weather. The creatures stood within a few meters of each other. Steam gathered in the air, a modest, persistent fog. No sound or movement accompanied it. They could have been a herd of buffalo or a school of pike adrift. Hisa knelt some 10 meters from the gathering. Her gaze trained on the nearest Thulian. She lifted her recording device and spoke into it. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Too low for Goldilocks to hear. Goldilocks turned to Warren. His eyes were large as saucers, his mouth hanging open. She reached over to poke him. I can still feel the give of his muscle on the tips of what were once my fingers. Hisa turned, shooting a glare at Goldilocks. What did you do? She asked, her voice a barely audible sapphire. She pointed to the Thulians. Look at them. They're reacting to something. The steam has gotten more pronounced. When she poked me? Warren asked. Yeah, that's all I did, Goldilocks said. Hisa shot them another glance. They remained silent after that, each of them studying the small gathering from a distance. They took readings and samples until the storm gathered to the north. Before it could reach them, they made their way back to the shuttle. Goldilocks, followed by her 2 bears. It was already too late. In the shuttle, decontamination protocols revealed that they were compromised. That's when they learned about the blue. Pod 1, this is North Star. It was the voice of the science officer. Are any of you carrying unprotected materials? Hisa stared at Warren. The look on his face was sheer terror. He shook his head. Hisa turned to Goldilocks, but the xenobiologist knew better than to carry something unsealed. That's a negative, North Star, Hisa said. We're getting anomalous readings from your bioscans, the science officer said. Define anomalous, Goldilocks said. The comm went silent. That's probably because nothing in the science officer's training would have prepared him for the readings he was seeing. The data reflected fairy tales and the taste of drowned neon that never quite learned how to be violet. Baby Bear was panicked. North Star? He called. Hisa looked to Goldilocks. Then they both looked to the frightened man. There was something wrong with his breath. It was visible, like a spray of turquoise flecks that hung around him. The vapor had captured Goldilocks and her 2 bears, and it was time for them to sleep. End of Vapor by C.A.Wynn.